Faustin Guaitigo murdered by Winnebago County Sheriff Deputy Joseph Brulard, April 10, 2021. Jose Gonzalez Jr. shot while running away by the Rockford Police Department on April 11, 2021. Date of incident. November 5th, 2017. Name of victim, Eddie Patterson. Officer involved, Jamie Cox. Location of event, East State Street and Dawn Avenue. Civilian injuries from event, 1 murder. Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force findings, justified. Release data findings, July 12, 2018. In a press conference Thursday morning, Winnebago County State's Attorney Joe Briscato announces results in the November 2017 deaths of Rockford Police Officer Jamie Cox, 30, and Eddie Patterson, 49. According to investigators with the Winnebago Boone County Integrity Task Force, Officer Jamie Cox was justified in his use of deadly force during the traffic stop. Investigators say in a review of the evidence, Officer Cox attempted to pull over Patterson in his 1994 Chevrolet pickup truck near East State Street and Dawn Avenue. Officer Cox relayed information that he was pulling Patterson over for driving on a revoked driver's license and driving with expired plates. According to police, Patterson's truck was found by responding officers about 2 blocks north of the original traffic stop near the parking lot of the Unitarian Universalist Church. The Winnebago County Coroner releases inquest results in the death of 49-year-old Rockford resident Eddie Patterson. The jury rules Patterson's November 5th death a homicide. Inquest results say Patterson had 2 gunshot wounds. He was found lying across the front seat with his head near the passenger door. According to the inquest, Patterson provided a false name when he was pulled over by Rockford officer Jamie Cox. A background check determined his license was revoked. Patterson drove off inside the vehicle. He was driving about 58 miles per hour when he crashed into a tree about 2 blocks away from the initial traffic stop. Jury findings released Thursday determined Cox's death was a homicide and said he died after Patterson crashed into the tree. A task force previously determined Cox used of deadly force against Patterson justified. And now again, Eddie Patterson was shot and killed, shot in the back inside of his own car. And the officer reaching inside the car and then shooting him while he was inside that car is what led to Eddie Patterson then having no control of the car anymore and the car crashing. Craig Sandberg, an attorney representing the family of Eddie Patterson, has filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Winnebago County Court against the city of Rockford, arguing that the shooting that killed Patterson was not justified. On Thursday, he said the task force findings is, quote, Mr. Briscato's opinion, end quote. And he said he looks forward to the city and task force handing over their findings so the court proceeding can move forward. Quote, it really was a circus by our state's attorney because you're concluding that Mr. Cox was justified in the homicide of Eddie Patterson while giving no evidence as to what happened to justify Officer Cox shooting Eddie Patterson. Quote, Kingdom Authority Church Pastor Melvin Brown said during a news conference outside the home of Patterson's family. Quote, we feel that Mr. Cox was very reckless and caused these events, end quote, Brown said. Brown and Patterson's family are calling for the U.S. Justice Department to investigate. Again, that was the murder of Eddie Patterson at the hands of Rockford Police Department Officer Jamie Cox. Okay. Date of incident: October 28th, 2019. Name of victim: Eugene Washington. Location of event: Winnebago County Jail. Injuries from event: death. One death. Integrity Task Force findings: natural causes. Two families who've never met share something in. This is an excerpt about Joseph McCormick and Geno Washington. Two families who've never met share something in common they never imagined. Their loved ones walked into the Winnebago County Jail and would never walk out. Quote, "This is not a jail, this is a death building," end quote, said Teresa Derrickson, Joseph McCormick's mother. Quote, "I want closure because I know something happened to my son," end quote, said Eugene Lindsay, the father of Eugene Washington. Washington died on October 28th. That's near the only fact that his family has. Quote, "The autopsy and toxicology reports are showing no signs of anything," end quote, said Lindsay. Less than 2 months later, as Eugene's family searched for answers, another inmate died. Quote, "It was a shock too, and I'm hoping for a wake-up call for Rockford. Something is obviously going on," said Janessa Shaw, Eugene's cousin. Then on December 1st, Winnebago County Coroner Bill Hintz said Joseph McCormick hanged himself in his cell. Quote, "His last words to me were, 'I love you, Dad. I'll call you tomorrow.' That doesn't sound like someone who's going to commit suicide to me," said Rick McCormick, Joseph's father. Both families say they're fighting for answers from the sheriff, as well as video from inside the jail on the day the men died. The sheriff's office will only say the deaths are under investigations. The families say that's not good enough. Quote, "Stuff is happening. People are coming up dead on your watch. That goes to me, shows me you're all not doing your job," Lindsay said. Quote, "I understand there's criminals in here and there's people that committed crimes and they deserve to be punished for their crimes. I understand that, but not to die. Not to come in here and die," end quote, said Derrickson. In 2018, another death was reported from inside the jail. The jail was eventually sued for the wrongful death of Justin Matthews. So that's in 2018, Justin Matthews died inside the Winnebago County Jail. And then in October 28, 2019, Geno Washington died inside the Winnebago County Jail. And then December 1st, 2019, Joseph McCormick died inside the Winnebago County Jail. A death building, that's what she called it. That's what the mother of Joseph McCormick called it, a death building. I've been inside it, that's what it is. And the food nasty. All right, let's run through some dates. Let's run through the dates. All right. Mark Barmore. Mark Barmore murdered August 24th, 2019 by the Ku Klux Cops of the Rockford Police Department. Murder was found to be justified. Michael Sago Jr. murdered October 1st, 2011 by the Ku Klux Cops of the Winnebago County Sheriff Deputies. The murder was found to be justified. Philip Johnson murdered January 28, 2012 at the hands of the Ku Klux Cops of the Rockford Police Department. The murder was found to be justified. Logan Bell murdered October 11, 2012 at the hands of the Ku Klux Cops of the Rockford Police Department. The murder was found to be justified. Demetrius Bennett murdered November 1st, 2012 by the Ku Klux Cops of the Rockford Police Department. The murder was found to be justified. Eddie Patterson murdered November 5th, 2017 by the Ku Klux Cops of the Rockford Police Department. The murder was found to be justified. Kerry Blake murdered December 30th, 2018 at the hands of the Ku Klux Cops of the Rockford Police Department. The murder was found to be justified. Geno Washington killed October 28, 2019 inside the jail under the custody of the Ku Klux Cops of the Winnebago Correctional Facility. It was found to be justified. Joseph McCormick killed inside the jail under the custody of the Ku Klux Cops of the Winnebago County Jail on December 1st, 2019. It's found to be justified. Mikey Guzman ran down by the Ku Klux Cops of the South Beloit Police Department. The running of him down was found to be justified. Tyrus Jones shot October 2nd, 2020 at the hands of the Ku Klux Cops of the Rockford Police Department, and the shooting of Tyrus Jones was found to be justified. This is Denzel Duvant. Denzel Duvant was beat at the hands of the Ku Klux Cops of the Rockford Police Department. Denzel Duvant was beat while he was handcuffed while in custody of those Ku Klux Cops. Those racist officers, those racist, bloodthirsty, corrupt police officers which participated in the assault of this unarmed, handcuffed man suffered no consequences. They were not held accountable. They were not reprimanded. They continued to work. Again, this man was beat while he was handcuffed. Not in 2010, not in 2005 or in 1995, but in 2021 here in Rockford, Illinois, on the west side over near Fairgrounds by multiple racist, bloodthirsty police officers while he was handcuffed. Still hasn't recovered vision in one of the eyes in which he was beat in. This is what Back the Blue looked like. This is how they back the blue in Rockford, Illinois. This is what the thin blue line looked like in Rockford, Illinois. This is how they protect and serve in Rockford, Illinois. This is how the Rockford Police Department protect and serve. This is what community policing look like. Beating people while they handcuffed. Multiple officers beating people while they handcuffed. Beating unarmed people in the streets while they handcuffed. Faustin Guaitigo murdered April 10th, 2021 by the racist Winnebago County Sheriff deputies, namely race soldier Joseph Brulard. Murdered inside of his home, shot upwards of 8 times. Shot upwards of 8 times inside of his own home. After being shot multiple times, he was then tased by the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies. After being shot upwards of 8 times and tased by the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies, he was then handcuffed, and in the process of handcuffing him, he was told to stop resisting arrest. After shooting him 8 times and tasing him, they told him to stop resisting arrest. May have been the last words that he heard. Stop resisting arrest. This is Jose Gonzalez Jr. Jose Gonzalez Jr., 19 years old, shot while running away by the Rockford Police Department. 19 years old, shot while running away by the Rockford Police Department. Again, this is what protecting and serving looks like in Rockford, Illinois. This is what first responders do in Rockford, Illinois. They shoot people while they're running away. They beat people while they're handcuffed. They murder people inside of their homes. Date of incident, October 2nd, 2020. Name of victim, Tyrus Jones. Officer involved, Dominic McNeese. Location of event, South Main and Harrison Avenue. Injuries from event, sustained multiple life-threatening gunshot wounds. Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force findings, justified. Release date of findings, November 4th, 2020. Police officer Dominic McNeese was cleared of wrongdoing Tuesday in the shooting of a fleeing man last month. McNeese, a 7-year veteran of the Rockford Police Department, was justified in his use of deadly force October 2nd when he shot Tyrus Jones, Winnebago County State's Attorney Marilyn Height-Ross said during a press conference at the Winnebago County Courthouse. Height-Ross said McNeese had reason to believe that Jones was a threat to the public based on warrants out for his arrest and that Jones was being investigated as a potential homicide suspect. McNeese shot Jones twice in the back and once in the arm as Jones fled his vehicle after a high-speed chase ended in a crash. McNeese thought Jones had a weapon. He did not have a weapon. Quote, he was legally justified to use force he believed was necessary to prevent the escape, end quote, Height-Ross said. Quote, in addition, based upon Officer McNeese's observation of the defendant at the time, he reasonably believed that the defendant had a weapon, even though a weapon was not found. The United States Supreme Court has said that determining whether a police officer's use of deadly force is just, quote, must embody an allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split-second decisions about the amount of force necessary in particular situations, end quote. Height-Ross said. The state's attorney also said that after reviewing the events that led up to the shooting, she opted to charge Jones with attempted vehicular hijacking and fleeing to elude an officer. A grand jury indicted Jones on those charges, she said. Height-Ross's decision was made after reviewing the findings of the Winnebago Boone County Integrity Task Force, a group of officers from outside the Rockford force who investigated the shooting. Height-Ross did not confirm whether the shooting was captured on video. Jones was charged last week with first-degree murder and aggravated discharge of a firearm in connection with the September 26 shooting death of 25-year-old Damavali Macklin. On October 2nd, Jones, 21, of Rockford, was wanted on charges of aggravated discharge of a firearm and 2 separate warrants for alleged aggravated domestic battery when he was spotted by police in a vehicle. The officer attempted to make a traffic stop, but Jones fled and later crashed his vehicle in the area of South Main Street and Springfield Avenue. Jones exited the damaged vehicle and, according to police, appeared to be armed as he approached another vehicle, but he was not armed. That's when McNeese fired 5 shots, 3 that struck Jones. McNeese was placed on administrative leave, which means he got paid, pending the outcome of the investigation. Another officer getting paid to shoot people down in the streets. McNeese was placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. Chief Dan O'Shea said now that the state's attorney has rendered her decision, an internal administrative review of the shooting will begin. He said he appreciated the thorough investigation conducted by the task force. Quote, I am thankful that the victim in the attempted vehicular hijacking was unharmed and no one was fatally injured during the pursuit and subsequent shooting. Dan O'Shea is a piece of shit. Just want to make sure I put that out there. Quote, Tyrus Jones, the suspect in this case, is still at large on an outstanding murder warrant, and we are asking for the public's help in locating him. Leslie Rolfe is among a group of community activists seeking police reform and accountability. The group has been camping out daily on this. I don't like none of the verbiage these motherfuckers. I don't like none of this verbiage. The group has been camping out daily on the sidewalk outside of City Hall in the wake of the shooting of Jones. Quote, I'm not surprised, Rolfe said, of the state's attorney ruling the shooting justified. Since its formation in the wake of August 24, 2009, of the fatal shooting of Mark Barmore, the Winnebago County Integrity Task Force has investigated numerous cases of officer use of deadly force. Quote, some cases seem more in black and white and others seem like they have more of a gray area, but the only commonality is that the police were justified in the shooting each time, end quote, Rolfe said in an interview with the Register Star. Quote, so I would have been more surprised if it had been ruled not justified, end quote. 3 hours after Hyde Ross's news conference, Rolfe held his own calling for police dashboard camera video to be released, as well as any video from nearby businesses. He said that the video was, quote, owed to the public, end quote. Quote, I promise you, if Tyrus Jones had a gun and would have shot at Officer Dominic McNeese, and it was on the dash camera video footage, or on the light pole video footage, or on the smokehouse video footage, or on the shell video footage, it would have been released on October 3rd after the shooting, Rolfe said. Rolfe opened his news conference by reading off a list of fatal and non-fatal shootings by police, all of which have been ruled justified. Quote, Tyrus Jones does not stand alone in being a victim of police brutality in the city, end quote. Rolfe said while huddled under a tent at City Hall, where he said an ongoing sit-in protest of the shooting will continue. All right, we go through these dates one more time, then we wrap it up. Mark Barmore, murdered August 24th, 2009 by the racist, corrupt, bloodthirsty Ku Klux cops of the Rockford Police Department. They're not heroes. Michael Sago Jr. murdered October 1st, 2011 at the hands of the corrupt, racist, bloodthirsty, white supremacist, off-duty Winnebago County Sheriff deputies. The murder was ruled justified and the Ku Klux cop went right back to work. Philip Johnson, murdered at the hands of the racist, bloodthirsty, corrupt, white supremacist Rockford Police Department officers. Those officers were found justified of the murder of Philip Johnson on January 28, 2012, and those Ku Klux cops went back to work. Logan Bell, murdered October 11, 2012, by the racist, corrupt, bloodthirsty, white supremacist officers of the Rockford Police Department. Those Ku Klux cops was found justified in the murder of Logan Bell and went back to work. Demetrius Bennett was murdered November 1st, 2012 at the hands of the racist, bloodthirsty, corrupt, white supremacist Rockford Police Department, and those Ku Klux cops were found justified in the murder of Demetrius Bennett, and they went right back to work. Eddie Patterson was murdered at the hands of the corrupt, bloodthirsty, racist, white supremacist Rockford Police Department, and the officer was found justified in the murder of Eddie Patterson. Kerry Blake was murdered December 30th, 2018 at the hands of the racist, bloodthirsty, corrupt, white supremacist Rockford Police Department, and the Ku Klux cop that murdered Kerry Blake was found to be justified and went right back to work. Geno Washington died in the custody of the racist, bloodthirsty, corrupt, white supremacist Winnebago County Jail, and his murder was found, the killing of him was found to be justified, and all of those Ku Klux cops that work inside the Winnebago County Jail as correctional officers kept going on about their job. Joseph McCormick was killed inside the racist, bloodthirsty, corrupt, white supremacist Winnebago County Jail, and the Ku Klux cops who work as correctional officers inside that jail. None of them were held responsible or held accountable, and they all just returned to work to keep on being corrupt and bloodthirsty and racist and white supremacists. Mikey Guzman was ran down by the racist, corrupt, white supremacist, bloodthirsty South Beloit Police Department, and it was found to be justified that Ku Klux cop ran him down in the streets, and that Ku Klux cop returned to work. Tyrus Jones was shot by the racist, bloodthirsty, corrupt, white supremacist Rockford Police Department on October 2nd, 2020, and that Ku Klux cop was found to be justified in the attempted murder of Tyrus Jones, and he returned to work. And then on January 5th, 2021, the racist, bloodthirsty, corrupt, white supremacist Rockford Police Department engaged in the assault of Denzel Duvant while he was handcuffed on the west side of Rockford. January 5th, 2021. The same Ku Klux cop that shot Tyrus Jones while he was running away, that shot an unarmed man while he was running away, that same cop was told that he was justified in his attempted lynching of Tyrus Jones, and then within 2 months of being back on the racist, white supremacist police force, he engaged in this activity with his fellow Ku Klux cops, with his fellow racist cops, with his fellow bloodthirsty cops, with his fellow corrupt cops, beating this man while he was handcuffed. January 5th, 2021, right here in Rockford, Illinois. Not in LA, not in Ferguson, not in 1990 or 1980. In 2021, the corrupt, racist, bloodthirsty, white supremacist cops in Rockford beat this man. This is what Back to Blue looks like in Rockford, Illinois. This is what the thin blue line looked like in Rockford, Illinois. It looked like beating people while they handcuffed in the middle of the night. Then on April, and it should be noted, no officers were held accountable. Nobody lost even as much as a penny on their paycheck. Nobody missed a day of work. No actions taken for this man being beat by the racist cops while he was handcuffed. No actions taken for this man being beat by the bloodthirsty, corrupt cops while he was handcuffed. Faustin Guaitigo murdered April 10th inside of his home by the racist, white supremacist, corrupt, white nationalist cops of the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies. Murdered inside of his home, shot upwards of 8 times. After being shot upwards of 8 times, the last one point blank, he was then tased and then handcuffed and told to stop resisting arrest. After the racist, corrupt, bloodthirsty cops shot this man upwards of 8 times and then tased him, they told him to stop resisting arrest. Less than 24 hours later, Jose Gonzalez Jr., 19 years old, was shot by the same racist, no good, corrupt, white nationalist, bloodthirsty police department, Rockford Police Department, shot while running away. 19 years old, shot while running away by the bloodthirsty Rockford Police Department, April 11th, 2021. Fuck the police.